Program, the defense has made their case in Donald Trump's civil trial in New York City for lying to banks, lying to insurance companies, lying to tax agencies, lying to basically everybody about his net worth. Trump loves it when we call him a fascist. In fact, he's a loser. No candidate for president has ever lost the popular vote twice. No candidate for president. I mean, it just goes on and on, right? He is a loser in every. It's the old joke. How do you build a small fortune in New York real estate? You start with a big fortune. He has lost money. He's declared bankruptcy. Pretty much every company he's ever started has failed. He can only succeed when it's a grift. But not just the grift. There's another aspect to Donald Trump, at least in his political reincarnation, now that he's a politician. There's a new aspect to Donald Trump that we all need to pay careful attention to. And that is that he has surrounded himself with people who encourage violence. He is calling out to people who are violent, who embrace violence. The latest example is Judge Engoron, the judge who's presiding over his trial this morning, was woken up in the middle of the night with a bomb threat to his home. It's like, yeah, let's screw with this guy's head, right? I mean, this is what they're trying to do. And now Judge Engoron is like, I don't care, I'm just going to keep on being a judge, and we're going to, take away Donald Trump's little empire here. That's the upside. The downside is that even if they win a $350 million judgment against him, or $380 million, I think it is up to now, he's going to appeal this. He'll drag it out for years. He's probably stashing money in his overseas accounts right as we speak. But this bomb threat, Eli Honig was on CNN, and he pointed out this is what is now normal. If you criticize Donald Trump, if you try to hold Donald Trump to account, if you are part of the legal profession and you go against Donald Trump, if you speak, from people working in voting, Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman, from people, volunteering to be election workers, all the way up to federal judges. Now, Engoron is a state judge, in New York State, but all the way up to federal judges, like Judge Tanya Chutkin in Washington, D.C. If you take on Donald Trump, it's a $370 million fine, and a 5-year ban. If you take on Donald Trump, you can expect to have his Nazi followers come after you with violence. And there's a reason for this. They're doing it because they want to say to all of the judges out there, be afraid, be very afraid, do whatever Trump wants, which is exactly what's happening down in Florida. Judge Luz Cannon, Eileen Cannon is just, oh yeah, sure, we'll give you delays. Yeah, no problem. We'll, and that's probably the case that is the most, I think the one before Tanya Chutkin also, about trying to overthrow the election. But that, stealing classified documents and then selling them to Russia and Saudi Arabia is, which has not been proven, but I believe actually happened, is huge. And yet, Judge Cannon, a Trump appointee, this young woman who, I started out assuming that because he had appointed her, she was just going to do what he wants, that she's just another conservative right-winger. And, she had no experience. She shouldn't be on the bench. She had, as a lawyer, actually as a judge, she had tried 4 cases, I believe, maybe 5, before she was put on the federal bench, which is nuts, right? But, these were the kind of judges that Trump was putting on the bench when he was president, and Mitch McConnell was putting on the bench, are people who were ideologues, people who are willing to go along, with right-wingism, essentially, rather than people who are committed to the law. But this is what Eli Honig said. He said, what judge, what prosecutor involved in a Trump case has not had some variation of this? You think of this judge, Judge Chutkin, who received threats. Prosecutors, the DA in Fulton County, Fonnie Willis, and her staff have been threatened. Special Counsel Jack Smith and his staff have been threatened. It's a pattern you can't ignore. Trump puts out the word, somebody out there will act on it. And it's eminently predictable, and it's a sad state that we're in. I'd say it goes beyond sad state. This is as anti-American as you can get. I mean, I remember when Louise and I were dating, literally when we were teenagers, and she was living at home, and her dad was the Assistant Attorney General for the state of Michigan, and he was prosecuting the Licavoli crime family in Michigan. He was the Assistant Attorney General. I think I just said that. And they had police protection. They had a state police car out in front of their house pretty much 24/7 throughout the trial. Because a mob boss had threatened the Assistant Attorney General for prosecuting him. Or actually, I'm not even sure if Peter Licavoli had actually threatened Bob, Louise's dad, or if it was just, they were expecting that there might be problems. But it used to be the only time we worried about these kind of things, the only time we worried about judges and prosecutors, being the victims of violence. Or for that matter, politicians. Look at Paul Pelosi, beaten in the head with a hammer, an 80-year-old man, and then Donald Trump makes jokes about it, as if to say to his followers, yeah, do more of that, right? Let's go after some more Democrats with hammers. He's loving this stuff. And it is just so wrong. Now, I get it that Jack Smith and the FBI and Chris Wray, and I've got my problems with Chris Wray. He was Donald Trump's FBI director. He was the FBI director who didn't act on the intelligence that January 6th was going to go down the way it did. I think that Chris Wray was very compromised during the Trump administration, but apparently he's a survivor and he's made it through. And he's probably all over this. They're probably trying to figure out who's making these calls and things like that. And the nature of the internet right now and voice over internet protocol phone technology makes it very, very difficult to figure out who's actually doing this. I get all that. But it's indicative of a larger problem in our society, in our culture, that we have this guy this loser, this rather pathetic loser, in fact, who has been squealing and lying for 3 years now about having lost an election, that this pathetic loser's followers, that he's able to shout out to his followers, hey, let's visit some violence on these people. He does it obviously in code, and they do it. These are people who believe themselves to be patriots. Patriotism is not using violence against your fellow Americans to intimidate them into doing what you want. That's fascism. So, anyway, I wanted to lay that out for you. I think it's a big deal. I really think this is a big deal. And I wonder, when Trump is long gone, right? 5, 10 years from now, Trump, in all probability, will no longer be on this earth. The guy's morbidly obese and he's almost 80 years old. When he's long gone, will the violence still be with us? Has he like opened a Pandora's box that can't be closed? Or will we go back to normal when the fascist is gone from the stage, like Germany did, after Hitler died? Except that we haven't paid the price that Germany paid for Hitler. So I don't know. It seems to me like a genuine crisis in American democracy. One that we need to be addressing, we need to be talking about. And frankly, just like the media refuses to call Trump a racist, they refuse to call him and his followers violent fascists. But that's what they are. We have not, we didn't have this kind of violence any other time in American history that I remember. And hell, back in the 60s, I was in SDS. I had friends in the Weather Underground. They wanted to go out and blow up buildings. This was tiny stuff compared to what's going on right now.